Really good point. So the person who asked the question actually sent me an email after I responded to their question, and they said I more than answered their question, which I'm really glad about. And they had some follow-up questions that are kind of in line with what you're bringing up here with absolute pitch, and then also colors and things. So they drew on the idea that like each key has different affective qualities. So they said like, oh, in this chart that they saw, C major is like gay and warlike. There are many different charts and they'll look something like this, where like C major is innocent, C minor is unrequited love, D major is the key of triumph of hallelujahs, so that's why Handel's Hallelujah chorus is in D major. The important thing to remember with charts like this is that this is a pre-20th century tradition, and that's actually because 12-tone equal temperament took over as the primary tuning system in the early 20th century. So before that, all of the keys did actually sound different because they had different intervals making them up, so they did all sound slightly different. To us, post-20th century though, it's all of the keys sound relatively the same other than where they're happening in space or what their like specific frequencies are. So the person who emailed me also went on to ask a bit more about colors and was thinking more synesthetically, like synesthesia color, and I don't have synesthesia, but this description of using like major modes as like brighter and minor modes as darker actually I think comes from linguistics. In articulatory phonetics, we actually refer to vowels as bright and dark based on where they're occurring like in our vocal mask. Darker vowels happen more at the back of your throat and they're covered more by the soft palate. So I think that like sense of covering is what makes them darker because they're being covered by something, and the articulation happens under that soft palate, whereas the brighter vowels happen more forward in the vocal mask and they're like more in the light. They're not as much covered by the soft palate. Music theorists borrowed that idea of bright and dark when it comes to vowels and just sounds, and you'll hear that also in like descriptions of timbre based on like how different instruments sound compared to each other. Don't quote me on that because I don't have specific sources to back up like that specific part of light and dark in terms of describing sound, but I do know that music theory traditionally has borrowed from linguistics. I personally can't speak to the experience that people have with different keys if they have absolute pitch. If anyone with absolute pitch wants to chime in with their experience with different keys, I would love that because I don't have any of that experience. But anyway, thanks to both of you for the questions, and I look forward to more discussion. And for the rest of you, follow for more music theory tips.